Frances Cress Welsing was born in 1935 in Chicago, Illinois, and raised during the height of legalized segregation in the United States. Her experiences growing up laid the foundation for her later effort to understand racism, not as personal bias, but as a structured system. Her academic journey started at Antioch College in Ohio, where she was trained to question social systems rather than accept inherited explanations. That foundation shaped how she approached race not as a moral issue alone, but as a psychological one. So she continued her studies at Howard University College of Medicine, earning her medical degree, specializing in psychiatry. At Howard, Welsing focused on how environment, power, and social conditioning influence the human mind. This focus deepened during her work with the Washington, D.C. Department of Human Services, where she treated individuals affected by trauma, poverty, and systemic racism. Over time, she noticed a recurring pattern. People's mental health was closely tied to how society ranked their value. This observation led to the development of the Cress theory of color confrontation, which explains racism as a global system of power maintenance, not as isolated hatred or ignorance. In this theory, Welsing argued that racism functions to protect access to resources, control, and survival for one group by defining another group as inferior. Throughout her career, Dr. Cress Welsing was often interviewed about her book, The ISIS Papers, where she used analogies, including sports concepts, to explain race relations. One of her central arguments was that labeling a group as genetically inferior is not rooted in biology, but a psychological and political necessity to maintain dominance. Also, Frances Cress Welsing affirmed in the ISIS Papers that melanin, a biochemical that creates pigmentation with protective and light-absorbing properties, actually makes melanated people biologically dominant rather than inferior. However, racism and white supremacy has caused melanated people to internalize inferiority, have identity confusion, chronic stress, and psychological imbalance, which are conditions that directly affect mental health. Therefore, her question remained consistent until the end of her lifetime. If a system affects how people think, feel, and see themselves, shouldn't it be studied like any other condition that impacts mental health?